Welcome to the November 24th, 2018 edition of the BitcoinNews.com daily podcast, where we cover the biggest stories in Bitcoin, blockchain, and cryptocurrency every single day. You could count on us being here. This is your host, Space Marine. And I was enjoying some time on Earth for once instead of being on space. But then the crypto market got so bad it went nuclear again. I had to leave, it was a catastrophe. So I got on my spaceship and blasted off into space before I get harmed by it. Yeah, Bitcoin is down. So Bitcoin was steady near about $4,200 or $4,300 the past day before this. And then boom, it crashed all at once. And the reasons are unclear at this point. I looked at all the news sites, including Bitcoin News, and there's not a clear reason for this, but we'll talk about possibilities. But yeah, it was at 4,200 right before it crashed at around 3 p.m. United States time. It went 4,200 to 3,600 on Bitstamp. Briefly down to 3,600, but it steadied out. It was more like a low of 3,700, and now it's up to 3,800, trying to crawl back up. And that's not as big of a dip as we've seen in the past, but now that the market price is a lot lower for Bitcoin overall, that's a huge crash. That's like it's like $400, which is like 10%. So it was like over 400 for a little while, so it was over 10%. And the Bitcoin market cap went as low as probably $65 billion. Right now it's crawled up to $67 billion or so. And the total crypto market cap's at $126 billion. Only 10 days ago, before all these crashes started, there's been 4 crashes in a row. Maybe like 3 big ones. On November 13th, November 14th, before the crash happened, it was $210 billion total crypto market cap. Now we're talking $126 billion right now. It's actually declined a little in the past few moments, even below 126 billion. Because even though Bitcoin's crawling up a little bit, the other altcoins are starting to react now. Bitcoin kind of led the way on this crash tonight, which is a little unusual. But when Bitcoin goes down, usually the altcoins go down more. And the altcoins weren't down more when I first looked, but now they're starting to rapidly go down. So it went from $210 billion on November 13th to 14th, like 10 days ago. It's like $126 billion now. Do the math. We're talking like 80 to $90 billion loss of market cap on the crypto space. So it started with the Bitcoin Cash fork, and we'll play through the Bitcoin price. I don't want to be too repetitive on these shows, but it's just like the same story kind of repeating itself. So the Bitcoin Cash fork, before that happened, it was 6,300, and then there was a lot of sell-off because there was a lot of controversy and aggressiveness in the entire crypto space, and maybe the media was saying, hey, Bitcoin's forking, because Bitcoin Cash says they're Bitcoin. So there might have been some interviews in the mainstream media, like with Bitcoin Cash, people that said it's Bitcoin, because they don't even call themselves Bitcoin Cash. They say they're Bitcoin. And that might cause confusion in mainstream people to sell off Bitcoin, not knowing that it wasn't Bitcoin that was really splitting, it was Bitcoin Cash. So it went from 6,300 to like 5,500, and then it was steady around $5,500 until November 19th or so. And it dropped again down to $4,500, $1,000 crash right there. And that was when the Securities and Exchange Commission began their enforcements, like real civil penalties against initial coin offerings. And civil penalty doesn't sound that extreme. It doesn't sound like criminal penalty, but they charged each initial coin offering that they enacted against. It was Paragon and Airfox, PRG and AIR, the token names. They had to pay a $250,000 fine and refund all the investors that lost money, which is all the investors in their case. And for most initial coin offerings, that's true. Most of them have lost money. And now the SEC says that's what they're going to keep doing. So the entire ICO space has the threat that the SEC will come along and sue their coin or their platform. And that might be why the crash happened today. We're still seeing fallout from that, but maybe not, because it started with Bitcoin. It really did start with Bitcoin. We're talking like a pretty heavy Bitcoin volumes caused this crash to start. But now that the fears in the ICO space, it will continue. Like as I'm talking, it was trying to climb over 3,800. Now it's below 3,800. So this is like kind of breaking news right now. That's why I did the show right now. I'm in the evening, November 24th, and it just broke. And China will wake up, in the next few hours, and it might just get worse when Asia wakes up. I mean, China's technically not supposed to have Bitcoin to fiat trading. But when Asia in general wakes up, usually if a crash starts on this side of the world, it continues on that side of the world. So we'll see what happens. It might not be a good day at all. This might just be the beginning. That's speculation, but that's usually how it is. So yeah, to continue through, so we talked about that first crash of Bitcoin Cash, and then the SEC enforcement, and how that might be still happening now. And then on Black Friday, right after Thanksgiving ended, Bitcoin was steady around $4,500, but then it went down to $4,200, and that's where we were. So we were still at that $4,200 level that was started on Black Friday, And that wasn't like a huge crash compared to the other ones, but it was something. It seemed like with Black Friday sell-off happened, maybe people were converting their Bitcoins into products for Christmas and Hanukkah and all that. That might be really what it was. It was actually Bitcoin being used as currency, which seems to be kind of rare in the talk. Like, I know Bitcoin is the best decentralized money. It's instant, secure, cryptographically secure, instant, anonymous, decentralized, immutable. And it's the perfect form of money. So people actually were using it for money on Black Friday probably. And that might have caused it to sell off a bit, because when they send their money into like a merchant, they convert it with BitPay or something like that right into cash, and that causes a sell off. So it was around $4,200 after Black Friday happened. And it was steady there just for a couple of days. And now, boom, we're down to $37.60 right now on Bitstamp. And yeah, that corresponds to a market cap of actually around $65 billion, around there. On CoinMarketCap, they kind of lagged the global market for some reason. So, like they're saying on CoinMarketCap, this is $38.80, even though, yeah, that's around Bitfinex's price. But that's not really the price. It's more like $65 billion market cap, and that's really low for Bitcoin considering the past year. There was altcoins with a higher market cap than that. Like Ethereum had a way higher market cap than that in the past. Remember, Bitcoin used to be at $20,000 about like this time last year. Less than a year ago, it hit its peak, and now it's down like over $16,000. That's a big way down. So now we're going to expand into the rest of the market analysis. We discussed Bitcoin. Now let's see how it's affecting the other alternative cryptocurrencies. So Ripple's the number 2 cryptocurrency now, and that wasn't the case for like all year, all 2018 until now. Ethereum was number 2, but now Ripple's number 2. And Ripple was actually having a pretty decent time during this crash until like Black Friday. Black Friday is when Ripple started going down too. And Ripple has taken it hard today. Ripple is down over 10% today. It's down to 37 cents. That's still higher than it was a couple months ago. Ripple actually rose up while everything was going down about a couple months ago. And it rose up a lot. Now it's a number 2. It's about $3 billion ahead of Ethereum for that number 2 spot. But Ripple has lost a significant amount of market cap tonight. It's lost probably like $1.5 billion off its market cap. So not even Ripple's immune to this. And Ripple's going down as much as Bitcoin. Ethereum's down to $113 I see in CoinMarketCap. The market cap for Ethereum is less than $12 billion. And Ethereum's the hardest hit platform for initial coin offerings, because most initial coin offerings use ERC20 protocol. So the ERC20 protocol allows someone to launch a coin really easily and then take Ethereum in exchange for their coin. And then after someone uses ERC20, they have the choice of going to their own native blockchain, but usually that takes a lot of work to make a native blockchain for a coin, so they just stick on the Ethereum platform, and Ethereum has a lot of development tools. So a lot of these initial coin offerings and blockchain platforms that were funded by the ICOs stayed on the Ethereum network, and now the whole ICO space is under attack by the SEC. And also the investors are getting crazy right now. And that's what I've read in the expert analysis. It's like, not just will the SEC sue the ICOs, but the investors will start suing the ICOs and each other and the people who sold the ICO tokens. So the whole ICO infrastructure might be experiencing quite a collapse right now. And so that's all, most of that was on the Ethereum network, so Ethereum's is losing tons of money. So when Bitcoin, right now it's just about down as much as Bitcoin, actually a little less than Bitcoin. So now that Bitcoin's gone down so much, it might just be a really bad day for Ethereum. Arthur Hayes, the CEO of BitMEX, forecasted that Ethereum would drop below $100 when it was way above $100. It was like $300 or $400 when he said that. And most people didn't believe him. But also what they did on BitMEX, which is the biggest crypto derivatives exchange in the world, and on BitMEX, they're actually probably having a good day. Because anyone who shorted Bitcoin today, or Ethereum, made a ton of money. Because they could do 100x leverage, and if it's going down, that's an easy bet. So, of course, no one really knows when it's going to go down, and it went down fast. But when it starts going down, then BitMEX jumps in. So, like, you see that first candle downwards, it went from 4,200 to 4,150, or maybe even 4,130. At that point, that's when BitMEX jumps in, and then you see the huge candle from 4,130 down to, like, 3,750. So that's, like, possibly whenever the market starts to go down, like, solidly, and then BitMEX jumps in and does their 100x leverage shorts and really crashes the market. That's speculation, but it's truth that crypto derivatives exchanges are impacting the entire spot market because there's so much volume. Like BitMEX, I looked, has a few $1 billion of volume right now. That's the entire Bitcoin spot market volume is like $4.5 billion. BitMEX has $3 billion over there, and that's separate volumes. Right? They're not included in each other. So the massive amount of selling on crypto derivatives exchanges impacts the spot market. Back to the point of Ethereum. So Arthur Hayes, the CEO of BitMEX, said Ethereum's going to go below 100. That seems like guaranteed at this point because they're shorting Ethereum like crazy on BitMEX right now. So whenever Ethereum goes down a little, it goes down a lot, and that's been happening over and over and over. It's been going down more than Bitcoin. Ethereum used to be at $1,400 earlier this year in January, and now it's approaching $100. It might go below that. Once it drops below 100, that might be a real capitulation level, a real level of panic. And I think it already is. Like $113 Ethereum, that would make me panic if I was an Ethereum investor. How about Bitcoin Cash? Bitcoin Cash is way back in number 4. Like Bitcoin Cash used to have a much higher market cap, around like 10 billion or something, and now it's at a $3 billion market cap. It's just ahead of EOS, because EOS, well, yeah, so EOS has been declining a lot more than Bitcoin Cash, I guess, percentage-wise. Actually, today, Bitcoin Cash is down 16%. It's down to $177, and this is Bitcoin Cash ABC. So when that fork happened on the 14th, which initiated this entire market tumult, whatever you want to call it, it's split into ABC and SV. SV is Satoshi Vision. I looked at SV. It's up like 10% today, but it's still only at like $60. But Bitcoin Cash ABC is way down today, 16% down. It's at $177, $3 billion market cap, about $3.1 billion. And so Bitcoin Cash used to be at like $500, $600 before all this happened, and now it's like less than $200. So they're not doing good either. They've lost most of the market cap. It's become like pretty much a minor altcoin. They're still a major altcoin technically, but it's getting less and less. EOS was the biggest ICO. They're down 11%. Right now they're at $3.23, less than $3 billion market cap for the first time since they went public with their native blockchain, or the ICO even. So yeah, they're down more than ever, below $3 billion, and they're about to drop below Stellar. So that's been a long time coming. EOS was way above Stellar for a long time. And now they might be dropping below Stellar. Stellar's down 17% today, though. So Ripple and Stellar are very similar. They're made by the same guy, Jed McCaleb. I mean, there's other people on the teams, but Jed McCaleb played an essential role in launching Ripple and Stellar. And Ripple and Stellar are both similar in the fact they have like a central organization that holds most of the coins. So Stellar's down a lot today, actually more than any other top 10 crypto. And if it wasn't down so much, it would have lapped EOS a bit in number 5. And I believe that already happened a couple times. Stellar and EOS have been fighting for the number 5 spot, I believe. Tether is holding steady at 1.8 billion because it's a stable coin, and I guess no one's redeeming it. But Tether is not very stable. It's still bouncing around below parity of a dollar. It's at 98.6 cents right now. It's probably more like 98 or 97 cents on Kraken. Litecoin has dropped below $30. Litecoin was like $200, $300 back when the rally happened, so it's down like 90%. Litecoin's the number one cryptocurrency for script miners. It's the king of script, and script is just a different cryptocurrency mining algorithm that's better for graphics processing units, GPUs, and also better for CPUs, because the SHA-256 Bitcoin mining realm, even before, was very difficult for anyone personally to do it, and now it's impossible. So now going down the list even more, Cardano is another ICO coin, down 14%. It has less than $1 billion market cap. And here's a point I want to bring up. There's only 8 cryptocurrencies with a market cap in excess of $1 billion. There used to be like dozens before, back during the main part of the rally. I don't have an exact number, but now it's only 8. We have Litecoin, Tether, Stellar, EOS, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Ripple, and Bitcoin that are above $1 billion market cap. Cardano's below $1 billion. Monero's below $1 billion, just below both of them. This is the first time they dropped below. Monero's down 14%. It's at $58. So Monero's having a real collapse too. Maybe in terms of relative amounts, it's not anything more than Bitcoin or Ethereum's going down, but Monero's way down. It's an altcoin, you know. It was always an altcoin, but it was the number one privacy coin, which means it's like really anonymous. Like Bitcoin's pseudo-anonymous because all the addresses are on the public blockchain, but Monero is like really anonymous. Like the addresses are like throwaway and private. And Tron is another ICO coin, down 11%, $800 million market cap. Dash is the king of X11, and X11 is another crypto mining algorithm. And so X11 is not holding any better than any other crypto out here. Like I said, Bitcoin leads the way. And now that Bitcoin crashed so hard, and this happened, like, as I said, it was really recent. Like, I'm doing the show at 7:30 p.m., and the crash bottomed out so far at 6 p.m. And usually when a crash like this happens, it doesn't just bounce right back up. So, like, it bounced up a little bit, but it might probably go down even more as more markets price this in. Like, there's a lot of people sleeping around the world right now. When they see it, that'll be below their sell level, and they'll just sell. It's usually how it works. I don't want to make a forecast like that, but I'd be surprised if it stops right now at, like, 3,800. It's already trying to go back down to 3,700 as I do this show. IOTA is the number one directed-to-cyclic graph cryptocurrency, and that's the best sort of crypto for storing things. It's not really a blockchain. It's a different sort of blockchain that requires less confirmations and less securing and stuff, but it's just as secure supposedly. But yeah, the number one DAG crypto IOTA is down 15%, $760 million market cap. We have Binance Coin, and that's for Binance is usually the number one exchange by volume. They just dropped below $5. So since Binance depends on people making profits and using the exchange and stuff, Binance will always be a profitable business model. But their coins is not doing any better than the other coins, because technically that's like kind of like an ICO coin. None of the ICO coins are doing good. We have NEM. NEM's like a blockchain platform I'm not really familiar with. They're down to $600 million market cap. They're down 13%. Ethereum Classics, that was Ethereum split off into Ethereum Classic and Ethereum because they got hacked like early on. And the hack basically stole the development fund for Ethereum. So the Ethereum developers reversed the blockchain and got the fund back. Ethereum Classic community said, no, we don't want to do this. And there was some speculation that Ethereum Classic might gain some spotlight now that Ethereum's going down, but it's actually going down in lockstep. It's down 12% today, more than Ethereum actually, relatively, as far as percent goes. Ethereum Classic's down to less than $500 million market cap, and Ethereum Classic's listed on Coinbase, and it has less than a $500 million market cap now. Neo's another blockchain platform. I think it's more popular over in Asia. It's down 14%. So like all these blockchain platforms, and Ethereum Classic is one of them, where you could build ICOs or you could build new blockchain platforms, like Ethereum Classic, Neo, Stellar, Ripple, Ethereum. Well, actually, no, more like Ethereum, Ethereum Classic, and Neo, and NEM probably. I think that's where you can build a real blockchain platform and launch a coin. There's a lot of cryptos where you can launch a coin, actually. But what I'm trying to say is these platforms that are focused on launching ICOs, and that's where they get the popularity from, they're going down more than anything right now. So that might be indication, like Bitcoin's down a lot too. But that might be an indication that the ICO crash is what's leading this. And by the way, as I'm talking, the crypto market cap's down to $124 billion right now. Bitcoin's not really moving much on the coin market cap list as I'm doing the show. This just shows that's a good indication that what I'm saying is true. The alternative cryptos going down is now leading this crash. And it might have started this crash. Maybe there's news that's going to come out in the next few hours that we don't know about, and I'll talk about it on the next show. Because this is quite a crash. And now we're down to Zcash. So Zcash is another privacy coin like Monero. It's down 16%. $350 million market cap. Tezos is another ICO coin, down 12%. And then we get to Bitcoin Gold. That's just a fork of Bitcoin that no one really knows about or uses. And I think they actually got 51% attack because their network's so small. But they're at number 20. And they're down only 6%. And then Ontology is another ICO coin. It's down 11%, $260 million market cap. Now we're at Dogecoin. So Dogecoin is one of my favorite cryptos because it's a real honest crypto. There was no pre-mine, no ICO. It was from the early days. It has a strong community on Reddit. And they're down only 6.5%. So Dogecoin's they're faring pretty good compared to the rest of the market. They're down. How can you not go down in this market right now? But they're a $260 million market cap, and they're rising up relatively in the ranks because everything else around them's going down like crazy. Dogecoin's down 6%. Everything else is down like over 10%. Even Bitcoin's down over 10%. And then VeChain's a supply chain ICO blockchain platform. So they're a pretty good supply chain platform according to people I've talked to. But yeah, VeChain's at $250 million. To continue, Maker, DAO, which is a decentralized autonomous organization, they're down 11%. Omisco, another ICO coin, down 60%. Now we're at 0x. 0x was just added to Coinbase recently. They're down 13%. The market cap's below $200 million. And this coin's on Coinbase. And I'm wondering what Coinbase's protocol is when a coin just crashes like crazy the entire time after it gets added. Like, it went up for like a week after it got added, but then it went down and down and down. It's been really bad for the Coinbase customers. I bet Coinbase customers are complaining. And Coinbase accepts fiat payments, so they might be having like reversal and chargeback issues because 0x is down a lot. I don't want to speculate because Coinbase has pretty strong policies that would probably prevent any reversals, but the customers might be angry. Likewise, Basic Attention Token. So we're kind of skipping a few here on the list. Quantum down 11%, Decred down 13%. Basic Attention Token, another one just added to Coinbase, down 13%. So regardless of the demand that Coinbase brings to a coin, because these are pretty much ICO coins, pretty much, they are, based on Ethereum. They were launched kind of a coin offering, BAT and 0x. They're both weighed down because the SEC might be coming after them. It doesn't matter if Coinbase added it to the platform. That doesn't affect if the SEC decides their security and the investors are their money because they weren't properly defined as securities or registered. I could keep going down the list, but I'm not going to. It's basically a wreck. Most of the coins are down 10 or 15%. And I'll just mention some of the biggest losers. There's a few coins at least that have totally... Well, 2 coins I'll go over. Actually, just one. Veros did have a real market cap. It was over $1 million market cap, maybe like $10 million. Veros. And it lost 92% of its value today. So Veros totally lost out. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but it had a real market cap. Often on the biggest winners, the biggest losers list, it's just very small coins that are moving just slightly. Because someone bought $20 or sold $20. But in this case, it was a real coin with like maybe a $10 million market cap that lost over 90% of its value today. So Veros kind of died today. That's all we have for you today on this November 24th, 2018 edition of the BitcoinNews.com Daily Podcast. Come back tomorrow for another exciting episode to see the fallout of this nuclear bear market. And go to BitcoinNews.com 24/7 for the full spectrum of Bitcoin, blockchain, and crypto analysis. This is your host, Space Marine, signing out, going back to space.